going to whip through this so we can get Dr. Chapman up here for all the things she's going to present. But these are things that are important, I think, for all of us to know. She is the interim superintendent of Columbus City Schools. Came here to the city schools in 2019 as the Chief of Transformation and Leadership. This work included prioritizing school improvement, principal supervision, leadership development, and the administration of grant funds to support effective teaching and learning. Whew. From addressing inequitable staffing to launching a principal coaching model in 2020, she has provided strategic guidance through the lens of a school leader. Prior to coming to Columbus, she spent 5 years in the District of Columbia Public Schools, instructional superintendent and interim chief of elementary schools. She has served as director of curriculum in Massillon City Schools, principal in Metropolitan Nashville Public Schools, and in Cleveland Heights University Heights School District. Wow. So, Dr. Chapman holds a bachelor's degree in elementary education from the University of Akron and a master's degree in curriculum and instruction from Ashland University. Also holds a doctorate of education in curriculum and instruction from the Tennessee State University. Also a proud parent of a current Columbus City Schools student. As you listen to Dr. Chapman, just remember, can you see yourself as the superintendent of a school district with 47,000 students, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Well, we've got a good one, by golly. Here she is.
Thank you, Rick, for that warm introduction, and good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for inviting me to be here with you this afternoon. It certainly is an honor and a privilege to be here with you all this afternoon. I intend to tell you a little bit about a couple of our high-level strategies and talk a little bit about how your work can certainly support us. But before I begin doing that, I would certainly like to start with gratitude and really share, would really like to share our immense gratitude to the Columbus Rotary for all of your support through the years for so many strategies. I know the Service Above Self Fair, the middle school and high school fair has been a long-standing partnership with the Rotary. Just being able to see the students lead the way in their communities around community service projects that they find of interest. They are solving the world's problems today through those projects and really having an opportunity to serve as a champion for that work in their school communities. When I visit schools every week, middle schools and high schools, I always run into the students and they tell me about how their projects, they have sustainability beyond the fair. And so they're still implementing and talking about how to connect the dots in their respective school community with their peers, community members. And so just know that that partnership that we have with the Columbus Rotary lives on, and the effects of it go well beyond the fair itself. I really believe that it has a significant impact on our students and their communities and their lives. So thank you so much for that. In addition to that, I know there are other partnerships that we have certainly been able to stand up with the Rotary, the Young Heroes program, the Summer Scholars. Rick just talked about an intervention program in response to some of the challenges that our students were experiencing during the pandemic. Those are certainly efforts that we certainly want to recognize and continue to champion, because that's what our true partnership looks like. And certainly the Career Path Awards, again, providing much needed resources to our students to help them to be successful and really put them on their way. So Rick did such an excellent job with the introduction. So I don't have to, with the bio, so I don't have to tell you too much more about me myself, but just know that I am very, very passionate about the work that we are leading in CCS. I see the potential. I know the promise. I see it every day in the eyes of our students. I see it every day in the eyes of our staff. We have a dynamic team of teachers and administrators across the district that are working relentlessly to support our students and change student outcomes. And so I just want you all to know that I'm very pleased with the momentum that we are seeing, and certainly very excited about the future as we continue to think about our priorities and continue to think about how we best support our students. And that means raising the bar as well as raising the ceiling, right? We want to make sure that our students are prepared not only for today, but for college, career, and beyond. So this afternoon, I'm going to talk to you about our early literacy goals and the strategies that we are working to support early literacy. And then I'm also going to transition to the other end of the continuum and talk a little bit about what we're doing to prepare our students for college and career and beyond, as we're thinking about the programs that we're supporting with our high school students. So we're going to start with elementary school, and then we're going to transition to secondary. But there's some exciting work, so I'm excited to talk a little bit about that work. Again, we'll start our conversation with just grounding ourselves in the demographics of CCS. Some of this might be familiar to you, but some of it may be new information. I want to anchor all of this work in our board goals and our strategic priorities, because this is work that our board is very committed to. And so I just want to talk a little bit about how our Board of Education is setting those expectations and saying this is the work that we want to prioritize across the district. And then we'll close with a call to action. The teacher in me says we can't leave a conversation without giving a homework assignment. So Rick will have to check in later about how we make sure that our Rotary members today complete their homework assignment.
Thank you.
Okay. Our scholars. So I always say, I call our students our scholars. So if I refer to our students as scholars, just know I'm talking about the 45,000 students who choose CCS each and every day. I call them our scholars. Certainly, we have a very diverse population in CCS, and I consider that to be one of the greatest assets that we have as a district. Again, as Rick mentioned, I am a CCS parent, and I am very proud and pleased that my son is growing up in a very diverse community, and his classroom and his school reflects the diversity of Columbus. And to me, that is something that you really cannot put a price tag on. The experiences, the conversation, the opportunity to learn and grow about different cultures really to me, is like the second classroom. It's what we not necessarily are explicitly teaching, but it's the conversations that they're being exposed to, which I certainly appreciate. Our district strategic priorities. And so in our district, we have 4 strategic priorities. The first one being whole child focus, whole child supports. The second one is equitable opportunities for all. The third one is strong learning communities in every region. And the fourth one is authentic engagement. When we think about priority number 1, whole child focus, this means that yes, we are focusing on academic expectations. But it also means that we're focusing on meeting the needs of the whole child. So in addition to those academic expectations, we're focusing on the social emotional learning needs of our students. As a teacher, as a parent, as an aunt, I know that we cannot get to the rigorous learning until we make sure that we build up our students and make sure that they have the social emotional learning supports that they need. I always say that our students come to us every day with an invisible backpack on their back. So if you just close your eyes and think about that, many of our students come to us with a variety of different experiences that they're bringing from home. And when we think about this, there's actually a tool that measures this. It's called ACEs, Adverse Childhood Experience Survey. But that survey really assesses, and it's not just for children, we could take it in this room too. It would be a whole exercise to find out how many of us have experienced an adverse childhood experience. Some of those experiences may be death of a primary caregiver. Some of those experiences may be they're in a home where a parent may be incarcerated. Some of those experiences may be they've experienced, we think about coming out of COVID-19. Some of us in this room we know have lost loved members or friends due to COVID-19. But whatever those experiences are, the students bring those experiences to school. And we have to make sure that we're connecting with the students in ways that honor their experiences and make sure that they're prepared for teaching and learning. If we don't acknowledge those experiences, the students won't be ready to be fully engaged in the rigorous, relevant lessons that we've planned. So it's an opportunity for us to just create a safe space, acknowledge where they are, check in with them, attend to the needs that they have. And some of those conversations don't happen in the classroom. They happen with our mental health professionals. And so students maybe have the opportunity to connect with a counselor or a social worker to process their feelings, but all of us deserve to have a check-in before we're connecting with learning. So how we practice this as a district, when we have a team meeting, before we get into our agenda, and there's a lot on our agenda, but before we get into our agenda, we just pause and we check in. How was your weekend? How are you feeling? What are you excited about? Anything that you're anxious about this weekend? How can we be of support to you? It's honoring the fact that we come to work with our whole self, right? I am more than just my title. I am a mom, I am a parent, I am a sister. There are things that happen outside of the world, and it's helpful to just have that check-in and create a safe space so that you can, for our students, it helps them to be seen. It helps them to feel loved. It helps them to feel valued and appreciated. One of the things that we talk about in school is for our students to have a sense of belonging. Well, that means that they feel appreciated and connected to their school community. It's not only that we know their name, but we know what motivates them. We know what, if there's anything that they're dealing with, again, adverse childhood experiences, if there's anything that's of challenge to them, so that we can provide them with the supports needed so that they can be successful. And then when we think about all of the priorities, the four priorities that I mentioned, all of this work is grounded in our portrait of a graduate. Many of you may have had an opportunity to participate in these district-wide engagement sessions that we had a few years ago, where we identified as a community, we co-created as a community right here in Columbus, what are the 6 most valuable attributes that we would like to see from all of our graduates. Not only do we want our graduates to have a high school diploma, but we also want them to deliver or demonstrate these 6 attributes. It's not just enough to say that our students have their diploma. They should also have these 6 attributes. We think about adaptability, communication, creativity, critical thinking, global empathy, technology. Wouldn't you want one of your colleagues or peers to have these attributes, right? And so this is an opportunity for us to say, we've heard from our community. This is the vision, the North Star from our community. How are we working as an organization to integrate these attributes into all of the work that we do? It's kind of like a thread beginning in kindergarten. What experiences are we giving our early learners to demonstrate critical thinking, to show global empathy? A few weeks ago, maybe a few months ago, we had Relationship Week. A Relationship Week is an opportunity for everyone across the district, different entry points for different grade levels, but it's also for the adults to show empathy. How are we caring for not only each other, but how are we caring for others in our community? So this, I would say, is our North Star as a district, because more importantly, this is the work that we have co-created with our community. Our community has said these are the attributes that we would like to see in all CCS grads. Our interim board guardrails, so let me just step back a second. Our board has has invested in a new governance structure. It's called Student Outcomes Focused Governance. And essentially what this means is our board is committed to one thing: students' outcomes. And so are committed to spending the majority of their time focusing on student outcomes. So if you tune into our board meetings, usually we have a monitoring report, and we spend the majority of the meeting talking about student outcomes, or we're monitoring these goals: the early literacy goal, our graduation goal. We're thinking about these goals and talking about the strategies. We are very transparent with sharing the data. We're very transparent about saying where we have met the goal and where we have fallen short. And we engage in a very open conversation about the next steps, the strategies, and the support we need to move forward. And these are the 4 guardrails that really hold up the 3 board goals. Support intervention systems. So as a part of our district, in addition to having the board goals, we have certainly committed to an approach that ensures that we have multi-tiered systems of support in place for all of our students. We recognize that this is not a one-size-fits-all approach. Some of our students need more. Some of them need a lot more. And so with MTSS, a multi-tiered system of approach, we can develop the support system and structures to meet all of our students where they are. You may say, well, what does that look like? Sometimes it means that the team is convening and they're bringing in external supports or partners to say, we need you to provide intervention. The intervention that Rick spoke about, where a Rotary member noticed that some elementary students needed extra intervention, that's a layer of support. They're still going to receive core instruction in the classroom, but some students need more. I call it the core plus more. Some students they will receive the core instruction, but they need more support. Some of those supports may be during the school day. Some of them may be before school. They may be after school. They may be on the weekend, or they may be in summer school, which we'll talk about a little bit today. And then prioritizing a whole child focus, that's again still part of our one of our strategies for a strategic plan, but it's making sure that we have all of the necessary resources to support those strategies. Aligning resources equitably. We are going on a journey beginning this year where we are looking to implement a comprehensive staffing model that is equity-based. So just as we talked about some students need more, we know that some schools need more resources than other schools. Right now, we're funding all of our schools based on their enrollment, but we know that some schools may need more resources based on their enrollment and the needs of the students. So for example, that means if one school may need more support in terms of literacy coaching than another school. Perhaps they have 2 literacy coaches. Perhaps this one particular school has a math intervention coach. We're going to target the instructional coaching and support to serve students, provide them with more support in math. So it just really provides, it creates a system where we're a little bit more nimble and being able to respond to the needs of the school and the school community so that we can, again, support accelerating student outcomes. Just want you all to know that we're being really, really intentional and really looking at the data to determine what the needs are, and we're being very responsive to that data. And ensuring a culturally responsive staff, under the second priority was equitable opportunities for all. We are certainly committed to making sure that all of our staff in the district have the training that they need so that the practices that they are implementing are culturally responsive based on the needs of the students that they are serving. So this is, again, another effort for us to make sure that we're being very intentional with our instruction, our professional development, and the support that we provide to our staff. A key theme out of student outcomes focused governance is student outcomes don't change unless adult behavior changes. And so what we're focusing on is preparing our adults to be ready to support, lean in, and provide the necessary needs and resources for our students. Okay. So our first investment is investing in literacy. And this is, again, we have a board goal around early literacy. The next slide shows the board goal for early literacy. Strengthening reading proficiency, that's the early literacy goal for the board. But I mentioned before that we monitor these goals at our board meetings. And so each month, there's usually a different monitoring report. Even though the goal is for a third grade goal, we're monitoring literacy achievement for first grade, for second grade, for third grade. So those are the interim goals that lead up to the third grade goal. So we're looking at the data holistically to make sure, and monitoring it in real time to make sure that our students on track and ready for success. As a district, we've made significant literacy investments. I don't know if recently you have tuned into the governor's messages about literacy and how he's including literacy in his budget. But I want you all to know, and you can say you heard it from me first, I want you all to know that many of the investments in the governor's plan, we made these investments 2 to 3 years ago in Columbus. I'll say it a little bit louder for my friends in the back. In the governor's recent budget proposal, he is recommending significant investments in early literacy, focusing on the science of reading, literacy coaches, professional development for teachers to support teaching the science of reading. We started this same journey 2 years ago. We've made these investments already. And so just a few weeks ago, we invited the governor to visit one of our elementary schools so that he can see the work in action. Now, his budget bill hasn't been adopted yet that I'm aware of, but we said we want to give you a preview of what this could look like in schools across the state of Ohio. We have invested millions of dollars in literacy coaches to ensure that we have a literacy coach at every school across the district. We have invested in professional development for our teachers so that they could not only understand the reading programs that we are implementing or the resources, but they could really understand the science behind the reading. So that's program agnostic. No matter what program you're teaching, we want our teachers to really understand the why behind why we sequence, and we have to have a systematic approach to teaching reading, why we have to teach phonics. And so these are investments that we've made a couple of years ago. So CCS is ahead of the curve. The governor was very pleased when he visited our schools and actually held a press conference at one of our elementary schools during his visit. And in addition to that, the governor must have told some of his friends about the great literacy work happening in CCS, because shortly after that visit, we were contacted to host the United States Secretary of Education. And he wanted to visit, again one of our elementary schools to learn about our early literacy practices. I said, the word must be getting out. CCS is leading the way in early literacy practices. We're making the right investments, and the word is getting out. He was very pleased. We visited Avondale Elementary on the west side. We visited pre-K and kindergarten classrooms. He had opportunity to connect with the teachers. You should know that our U.S. Secretary of Education is a former elementary school principal, so he was very familiar with working his way around the elementary classrooms. He knew exactly what questions to ask the teachers, but we almost had to pry him out of the classrooms because there's a short visit for a short time frame, very tight schedule for these visits, but he was so impressed with what he was saying in the classrooms. And we also had an opportunity to visit. He visited Columbus State, and I'll talk about the second part of this presentation about his observations. But I just want you all to know that the major headline here, we recognize that there's more work to be done in terms of improving literacy outcomes for students. We are making the right investments today to change the trajectory of our students. I always say, as a former teacher, former principal, every parent in our community should know their student's literacy address. You should know where your child is on that literacy continuum. Are you below grade level? Are you on grade level? Are you above? And no matter where you are on that continuum, what are the specific skills that you need to get to the next level? That's your literacy address. We are working and communicating with parents and giving them the data to have these kinds of conversations, not only with their teacher, but also with their child. This is the work that's going to change the game and change the narrative for our students, for our community, and ensure that our students have the strong foundation that they need as it relates to early literacy. I talked about some of the science of reading. You should know that as a district, we have invested over $8 million to purchase of core curriculum in literacy. And that's not just for elementary, that's K through 12. So all of our students in the district have access to rigorous and relevant curriculum in literacy. That means they have, a grade level text or above and beyond. They have resources. They have online resources. They have print materials. They have a variety of materials at their disposal. So our teachers have the resources that they need to ensure that we are providing our students with the rigorous curriculum that's going to prepare them for success. Our early literacy focus areas, these were the components of reading on that previous slide: phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, reading, spelling, vocabulary, writing, and comprehension. Whew, that's a lot, right? Imagine if you're in first grade. My team is telling me that I need to move a little bit faster, but just know that this is the work. We're teaching our teachers how to understand the science of reading and how to make sure that they are preparing for these resources. Family-facing investments, in addition to making lots of investments in the classroom and the resources that the students and the teachers receive, we're making significant investments in the resources to build up the literacy libraries of our families at home. And so we have distributed lots of reader packs or packs of books to students so that they can take home and build up their home library. It's not okay that they have a robust classroom library and then they go home and it's like a book desert. And so we are continuing to make lots of opportunities to invest in our students at home. Building a literacy landscape, just want you all to know that we are partnering with lots of partners across the city to support this work. We are not doing this work alone. We are doing this work with our partners. Okay. On the other end of the continuum, career exploration and workforce development. As I mentioned to you before, the U.S. Secretary of Education came to CCS to visit our early childhood programs, but we also had an opportunity to talk to him about the work that we're leading with our secondary students. How do we prepare them for secondary? How do we prepare them for college and career? And he was so impressed with the work that he was seeing. We talked about the work that we're leading with our secondary students to make sure that they're exposed to careers early, the partnerships with Columbus State to make sure that all of our students who graduate have an opportunity to attend Columbus State through the Columbus Promise, and just really how we're working as a community to close these gaps. It's not work that we're doing in isolation. These are our students, our schools and investing in their future lifts up the entire community. And so he was really, really excited about that work and said that he was going to take that model back to the Department of Education and see if he could find funding so that that promise is not just a 2-year promise, it's a 10-year promise. And so that was very, very promising. We are working to expand our talent pipelines in the Columbus community. We recently received, actually it's been 2 years from now, we received a $7 million grant from J.P. Morgan Chase to introduce new career pathways focused on advanced manufacturing and construction. So again, we are working diligently to provide more pathways, more opportunities for our students so that they can be ready for career or the workforce. There is a link to a short video, but I'm going to hold on that. I'll send it to you, and you can read it or watch that video on your own time. I talked a little bit about the Columbus Promise, which I'm sure many of you are already familiar with and you've heard about, but this is a very unique partnership with Columbus City Schools, Columbus State, the City of Columbus, and I Know I Can, which really has allowed college to become a reality for our graduating seniors by removing the potential financial hardships. So all of our students, every student in CCS, once as a senior, they have to complete the FAFSA application, complete the Columbus Promise application, and if they do those things, they are guaranteed they can attend Columbus State free of charge. It's amazing. It is amazing. It is a promise to our students that not only are we here for you now, but we're here for you beyond, and we're as equally invested in your future and your career. And so it's just a huge testament of what we believe in, and not only as a district, but as a, oh, I'm so sorry. Okay. Okay, so we'll wrap up on that note. Call to action. So as you think about what you've heard, we've talked a little bit about our early literacy initiatives, our secondary initiatives to support this work, but just really continuing to partner with CCS to think about extended learning opportunities for our scholars, identify opportunities to engage families with these strategies. I talked a little bit, I have another slide where we talk a little bit about our summer program, our summer experience. We certainly want to engage keep our students engaged over the summer. And so we have the capacity to serve 7,000 students over the summer in our summer experience, and it is not like the summer school that I attended when I was in school. It is an amazing, enriching experience. We have partnered with COSI, we've partnered with the Columbus Zoo, we've partnered with Ohio State, Buckeye Ranch, so many partners to make this an interactive, enriching experience so that students will want to be there and they will want to come back each year for that summer experience. So again, we have the capacity to serve as many students, keep sending them our way, and we want to keep our students engaged over the summer. But it's a really unique experience and really a fun time. And it's also a good time that, certainly in the summer, if you all ever want to visit one of our summer sites and see the magic that's happening. I always say the magic happens in the classroom. Well, this would be another opportunity for you to connect with one of our schools and pop in and visit and see some of the magic in action. So that's the updates that I have for you today. I certainly welcome the opportunity to come back if there are specific topics that you would like for us to discuss or highlight in a future meeting. I certainly welcome and stand ready to accept the next invitation. But I just, again, want to close by thanking you. I want you all to know that we see this work as being work that we are doing in partnership with our community. And so, and I want you all to see your role in partnership with us as a part of that viable community that's helping us to make sure that we're preparing our students not just for today, but tomorrow, for the future, and for their careers. So thank you so much for your time, and I appreciate it. We do have time for a few questions. Yes.
Hot topic across the nation. This weekend I Googled classic books being banned from our schools. I'll give you a few. Kill a Mockingbird, Great Gatsby, Catcher in the Rye, Grapes of Wrath, Color Purple. It's a huge problem. I don't mean to pin you down on a very, very difficult question. This, by the way, this list gave you two opportunities. One, maybe ask an intelligent question here, but two, to give you a great reading list. So my question is, how does the Columbus City Schools approve or disapprove books, and how do they do it appropriately? Elementary school versus middle school versus high school. Can you?
Yes, so thank you for that question.
I don't mean to give you an hour's worth of time.
No. I'll try to be brief and succinct. So one, all of the books on that list, I can say that I've read them, and I would never want to ban them. A reporter asked me this question maybe a couple of weeks ago, and I said I would want to spend more time talking about how we ban assault rifles and then talking about how we ban books. So that would be my response to that. As an educator, I think that we certainly have a process that we think about. It is the board's responsibility to select the curricular resources, and as a part of that, library resources, we are thinking about how we, certainly create processes to select the books. I think that we would want to spend more of our time making sure that the content is aligned to what we're teaching, and really less time on thinking about, again, banning books and pulling books off the shelf. So if we do our work on the front end, we certainly won't have to do it on the back end. But I'm all for spending more of our effort and resources on banning assault rifles, so we never have to have a conversation again about incidents of school violence.
We'll follow up. I've heard this a couple of times, that if one parent finds a book that they don't like in the curriculum or in the library of a school, that one parent can motion for that to be banned and they have to take it off the shelf. Is that a true statement, or is that just total crap?
That's not a true statement in Columbus City Schools, no.
Glad.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm going to ask a stupid question, but everyone here expects that from me. Are you familiar with our dictionary project?
Yes, for third graders.
This is the chairman of the dictionary project.
Awesome. Hi.
Follow that up, do you still think that a paper dictionary is relevant today?
I would say yes. We are, I talked about the literacy investments that we're making across the district to ensure that we're building up the home libraries of our students. I would say that that would be a great resource to be a part of the home library. But yes, I would say doesn't replace having a physical dictionary or physical copies of books. Certainly, everyone has their preference, right? But even today, if I have a book, I may have the electronic copy, but I also have the physical copy of that text. So I think that, as a district, a teaching and learning organization, we certainly want to make sure that our students know how to access all of the resources, right? Yes, you can certainly pull up a dictionary online, but to me, nothing replaces being able to have the skills to navigate a physical dictionary. And if they don't have it and they never see that, then they never have that experience, and they won't know how to use that as a resource or as a tool. So it's another tool that they should have in their home library as well. And so I appreciate, again, the Rotary's effort for helping us to make those connections and continue to make those investments.
I think I can speak for everybody in here that has delivered to a school that the kids are pretty excited when you walk in the classroom.
Yes. Yes, that's awesome. One more question?
One more.
Okay, just one more. Dana, I'll let you be the teacher that keeps us on track and says which one question.
Gosh, this is so hard. I'm going to go to Galen. I'm sorry,
you.
you guys.
I understand that the schools are looking for a new superintendent. I'm wondering if you could comment on what you think the next superintendent's top 1 or 2 priorities will be.
Oh, that's a great question. So I think the top, if I would say the top 2 priorities for the next superintendent, number 1 would and should always be student outcomes. We are a teaching and learning organization, and we cannot do this work without keeping our foot on the gas and a laser-like focus on improving student outcomes. Our students have so much potential and so much promise. We have to help them get to a place where that promise and that potential is demonstrated not only in our community, in the board goals and guardrails, but in all aspects. And so we have to, again, keep our eye on the prize. That's the North Star. Number 2 would be really thinking about what the next phase of CCS is going to look like. I still believe that in too many of our schools and classrooms, it still looks like when I was in school, and it's been a while, right? And so we have to work with our community to think about what should our schools, and I'm talking about facilities now, what should our school buildings and our school classrooms look like? We, as a district, need to envision a new vision of what that looks like. As our city is continuing to expand and grow, we still have legacy buildings that have outlasted, right? And so I think that we really need to be thinking about the type of learning spaces that we want for our students in Columbus City Schools that matches or exceeds the growth and expansion that we are seeing in our community. We think about Intel is coming to our region. What does the learning space look like to prepare our students to compete for jobs at an Intel? What does that classroom look like? Does it have chairs? Probably not. Does it have desks and rows? Probably not. Is it filled with technology? Is it an open space? Are there laboratories for students to do experiments? And not just science experiments, experimenting with technology, right? Cooperative group working together, working with the industry partners working in our schools, right? And it's just a flexible learning space that really speaks to what we believe our students are capable of doing, and it looks very different from the spaces from yesterday, right? And so I think that with the infusion of lots of technology and industry in our region, it's going to push us to think differently about schooling and education and how we really prepare our students for the future. So I'm excited about that conversation and really look forward to it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. And if you have time to stay after, I'm sure you'll have more questions. Even if you don't, we understand your schedule might be a little tight, but we'd love to have you and appreciate your time.